Welcome to our deep relaxation class.
Ariom, namaste. My name is Brian and I'll be your facilitator for tonight's deep relaxation class. Just a quick moment to say thank you to our facilitators and everyone on the tech end at the library. And you can also continue to find our recorded content on YouTube by finding the Eldersburg Library's webpage on there. You can search Library CCPL. And that way you can look up past classes or maybe a class you missed. There's also several other great instructors if you want to add a little variety into your practice. Again, thank you for taking the time to show up and practice together tonight. We're going to start in a comfortable seated position, whether that's seated down on the floor or a cushion or at the edge of a chair or on your sofa is your choice. Just take a moment to just sort of mentally check in with wherever you're at, right here in the present. All of us might be carrying a story from whatever was passed previously before this class, and hopefully we can just take this next 50 some odd minutes together to really just ground in the present moment and start to let some of those past stories go. This is a beautiful opportunity to check in with where you're at physically, emotionally, mentally, and start to let that inner expression and outer expression of yourself start to harmonize. That's the intention for tonight's practice. And we're going to start in the seated position, just with our hands resting right here together in the center of the chest. And during this check-in process, just see if there's anything that's weighing on you that strikes you as serious, makes you feel serious. See if you can just bring a little bit of lightness into that, maybe accept it if you haven't already, or maybe just start to let it go and bring in that little bit of perspective by being objective here as you check in on that, whatever that thing is. And if that thing that made you feel serious or you reflected on as taking it very seriously, see if you can look back at that thing or that experience or that interaction and see if you can just bring a little bit of loving kindness into the situation. See if you can just try to let yourself feel okay for having that reaction or for treating that thing seriously, but also be able to create enough energetic space where you can sort of metaphorically cut the cords with that experience. Let it be what it was. And now just start to see, who am I now, right now, outside the context of that thing that made me feel serious. So whatever that thing is that maybe you got stuck and you're still processing, sort of just symbolically offer it up now. You could even just separate your hands. You're literally and physically just offering that thing up. Now I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, just gently ground the palms down until they rest on your knees or lap. And as you inhale, gather up any little remnants of that thing that you've been holding on to. And then exhale, ground down and reclaim your attention and your presence. And just continue in your own way, express that symbolic offering up and letting go. And then with your breath, focused on grounding down here now. Feel that instantaneous lightness that accompanies the exhalation. Just observe that 3 more times. Inhaling, offering up. Exhaling, grounding down, reclaiming your sacred space. Just more intentionally with your breath. We're going to start to stretch our head and neck, continuing to ground down here in the present. We're going to start to kind of just release any areas that might have accumulated tension. So just start by turning the head and neck to look over one shoulder and then press the opposite hand away. For example, I'm looking over my right shoulder and pressing left hand away. You can stay just like this, or maybe even start to lean ear to shoulder, same side, ear to shoulder. Rotate the head and neck. At the same time, you could accentuate just a gentle press by straightening that outstretched arm. Pointing or curling fingers, rotating the wrist, and opening up this channel of energy from the head and the neck, up under the armpit and down all those nerve pathways through the arm, down the bone structure, out the fingers. Just feel that rushing attention flowing down through where you feel your stretch. Recenter, ground yourself back here. Observe that difference between the right and left side. And then repeat the same thing. Repeat that process on the other side. Just start by the look over the shoulder. Many different angles and approaches as you need to find that positive response in your physical body. Through that attentiveness to the breath, so you start to create that connection, bridge that gap, that perceived separation of mind and body. Experience that harmony. Turn to center, hands pressed together, right in the center of the sternum. Inhale, sit up tall, drop the shoulders back and down together. Bow the head towards the heart. What is it that brings you back to your mat? Back to these deep relaxation offerings? What is it that helps connect you to yourself right here in the moment? Take a moment to honor and acknowledge that calling, that driving force, thing that continues to bring you back. Take a moment to reconnect with that. And then inhale, when you're ready, open the hands out wide, like you're going to embrace the whole entire room. And then exhale, just simply cross the right arm over the left, make your best effort. Repeat that again, inhale. This time switch left over right, make your best effort, crossing, reaching. Do that 3 more times on each side. And then we're going to transition to a stretch for the back body, symbolic back of the heart chakra, through an eagle arm stretch. Let your breath, your own breath, guide the pace of the movement. The next time that your right arm crosses over the left, pause and hold it there, and I'll guide us quickly through this eagle stretch. So with right arm over left, crossed right at the elbows, I'm going to simply fold the back of the forearms together. If I can, I might grab a hold of that right hand thumb with the left hand. If you can indeed grab a hold of the thumb or bring the opposite hand to the inside of that other hand, then you can really start to stack the elbows and push the elbows away, drop the shoulders back and down, and feel that widening, that expansion across the back body, specifically through the rhomboids, shoulder blades, trapezius muscles. You can even lift the elbows up and then drop them in little oval shapes, exploring that opening. Once you've done that for about a minute on one side, when you're ready, you can uncross the arms. Approach again on the other side. Take a moment to pause and recenter before inhaling and opening the arms out wide again. Crossing left over right or opposite if you've already done that. Either bringing the backs of the hands and arms together or trying to interlace right fingertips to the inside of that left hand. And then pushing the elbows up and away, dropping the shoulders back and down, maybe making some small circular shapes. When you're ready, slowly uncross the arms, inhale, opening, lift the center of the chest. Exhale, rest the hands back to the knees or on the lap. Take a few slow, deep, controlled breaths. Check in again. Bring your attention back here. Release the past or anticipation of the future. So we're going to move into a cat and cow stretch next. But before I transition onto my hands and knees for that cat and cow stretch, I'll demonstrate how you could do that comfortably from a seated position if going down onto your hands wasn't accessible or comfortable at this time. It's really all about the undulation of the spine and really the stretch and flex across the front and back of the body. And so from that comfortable seat, hands resting on the knees or in the lap, you can simply inhale and stretch, lifting the chest, feeling that little bit of compression in the back. And then exhale, suck the lower belly up and in, rounding through the spine, maybe even pressing the hands away. And then you could inhale, reverse, and repeat. And that's how you could adapt or modify that cat and cow into a seated stretch. Otherwise, we're going to come on down to our hands and knees here. Have your knees stacked right underneath of the hips, hands out under the front of shoulders. And then again, inhale, tilt the tailbone away, lift the chest, stretch through the head and neck. And exhale, tuck the chin in, scoop the tailbone under, sucking the belly in. Rest the palms down into the floor for that cat stretch. Inhaling back through cow, dropping the belly to the floor. And then exhale, feel that roll up through the spine. Move through that cat and cow stretch for about the next 30 seconds. Take time to rest in child's pose if you need to by dropping the weight back into the hips and surrendering the crown of the head towards the floor. When you're ready, coming back up to that hands and knees position, you're going to step the left foot up in between the hands and come into a low lunge. Be mindful to try and keep the hips square here as you do so. Want to make sure that this knee stacks right over top of the ankle or heel, and the knee does not actually extend out in front of the toes. If you want to, you can bring the hands up onto some yoga blocks, or you can bring the hands up onto the thigh. If you do come up into this sort of more upright low lunge, you're going to feel that stretch across the front of that right hip flexor, or about where your right pocket would be. Continue to just gently surrender the hips forward and down. Again, knees stacked right over top of heel. And maybe reach the hands up and overhead. If you need to, you could bring a sweatshirt or a blanket underneath to cushion that right knee that's on the mat. See if you can take 3 to 5 breaths here in Hanumanasana, this low lunge position. Continue to lengthen through the torso by reaching the crown of the head up, extending the spine. And when you're ready, lower the hands back down to frame that front foot and simply step back into tabletop. Just gently drop the hips side to side. And then we'll prepare for our lunge warm up on the other side. Step that right foot up in between the hands. Hands might like to stay on blocks. Just back a little bit here. You might like to keep your hands on blocks. Down on the mat. Or if it's comfortable for you, you could bring the hands up and overhead. When you're ready, lower the hands back down. Step it back into tabletop. And then slowly come back down into child's pose. Slowly reach your hands over to one side and drop the weight back into that opposite hip. And go ahead and repeat on the other side. Again, over to the left. Reach the hands over. Feel that nice side body lengthening. And when you're ready, same thing. One more time, other side. Take your time, come back into tabletop. We're going to move through a little bit of a gentle hatha flow, where we're going to shift from child pose and then forward up into a cobra or sphinx and then back again. And we'll continue to cycle through that for about 90 seconds or so. And so you can start by exhaling and syncing your exhalation with this surrender back into child. Or maybe you could make it more of a puppy pose by keeping the knees together and keeping the hips more upright as you reach the fingers forward. That's going to really start to stretch more the mid back instead of the lower back. And then you can inhale, shift forward onto forearms, lowering the hips down, scooping the hips forward until elbows are underneath of the front of shoulders, inhaling up into sphinx. Otherwise, you could have the hands down on the ground or lightly hovering above the floor to rise into cobra. And then simply press the hands back, shift the weight back into the hips, and repeat with your exhalation into child pose. Again, start your sequence now, and we'll continue throughout the next minute and a half. And then go ahead and just, when you're ready, come forward into Adavasana, which is like Savasana, but resting face down. And you can simply come to rest face down here on your mat, with your cheek turned to one side. Just go ahead and start to stretch the legs out long behind you. Now we're going to come back up onto our forearms. And this time we're going to reach back to see if we can grab a hold of the left foot. We're going to see if we can reach back and grab a hold of this left foot with the left hand. And if you can't quite grab a hold of the foot, maybe you can use a yoga strap or something to help grab a hold of the foot. Try to keep this foot in alignment with the knee and don't let that foot come out to the side. Really want to try and just grab the foot here, or maybe hook the foot into the crux of the elbow joint. Keep pressing both of the hips down. You can even start to just lower back down onto your belly, or you might like to have crown of the head on the floor, or you might like to be propped up on that forearm. You go ahead and repeat on the other side. And then come back down into this forearm position on the Sphinx, elbows underneath the shoulders. Extend the feet out behind. Just simply inhale and lift the center of the chest, pressing the hips into the floor. Draw the shoulder blades back together and breathe here. If there's any kind of tightness in the lower back, you can widen your legs slightly, adjusting the hips. Draw the lower belly up and in, maybe even feeling the lower belly start to pull up off the floor. Great job. Slowly lower back down to rest again. Let your opposite cheek come to the floor, and just take about 3 to 5 breaths to rest and reset. Go ahead and press the floor away. We're going to come to sit now with our legs extended out in front of us. If you need to, you can fold your mat up a few times to give yourself a little bit of elevation, just a little something to kind of bring the hips up a little bit. If your hamstrings are really tight, you might even want to bring a bolster or a blanket or something to bring underneath of that bend in the knees, support that natural curvature and flow of the hamstrings when they're tight. And eventually we'll be able to straighten and lengthen those hamstrings. All right, so we're going to start with the legs extended out in front, just naturally about hip width apart. And we're going to start by just simply inhaling and reaching the hands up and overhead, and at the same time starting to hug the knees in towards the chest. And then exhale, lower down. At the same time, straighten and press the legs. So again, inhale, hands reaching up, knees drawing in, feet getting light, almost light enough that they come up off of the floor. And then lower the hands, extend the legs. So we're warming up to come into Navasana, the boat pose. And to do that, you might even start by using the hands, instead of having them up and overhead, to hug the knees up and towards the chest, maybe just starting by lifting one foot off the floor, maybe lifting both feet. And it's totally okay if you want to keep the hands here right behind the legs. I do want to caution you to not roll onto the lower back. Stay sitting on those two knobby bones, the sitting bones on your posterior, and that'll help give you the support to make it through this core strengthening goat pose. Just popping the feet up one at a time or both at the same time. Hands can continue to hold here, maybe releasing one hand or both hands for both. Suck the belly in, lift the chest, keep drawing the knees in, actively engaging. Slowly drop the heels, extend the legs. Inhale, sweep the hands up and overhead. Exhale, hinge from the hips and gently start to reach forward. And continue just like flowing water. Inhaling, heart lifts, hands rise. Exhaling, hinge from the hips. Crown of the head extends towards the knees. Inhaling, flowing up. Exhaling, chin tucks in, hinge from the hips. Keep the spine long. This is a stretch and lengthening pose for the back body. And continue with that at your own pace until you're ready to rest here in this forward fold. Find you like a restorative forward fold with that support of something underneath of the back of the legs, right under the knees. Something that the knees can fold over. Actually, bring the knees up into the chest. Supports can make a really big difference in the practice, especially in one where we're holding the poses. Be attentive and aware. That balancing between being attentive and aware and also being able to relax. Now just slowly come back up to your tall seat. Look over each shoulder. Go ahead and remove that prop from underneath of the legs. And we're going to go ahead and hug the right knee in towards the chest. I want you to go ahead and bring the sole of the right foot to the inside edge of the left leg. And now we're going to actually widen our stance here. So if I was seated in the middle of a clock facing 12 o'clock, I'm going to actually just move this left foot out to about 11 or maybe 10 o'clock so that I've widened my stance here. Now, if you have a yoga strap, it will really come in handy to hook this left foot and have a strap to hold on to. Otherwise, you could just tuck this left hand underneath of the left leg, or maybe just let it rest on the outside edge of the leg. We're going to work on actually forward folding, but with this lateral angle. So I'll actually kind of shift so I'm facing more towards you here. So I'm really focusing on reaching out towards left hand to foot, and then following my eye gaze will actually follow this right hand as it reaches and lengthens up and over, stretching and lengthening this side body. And again, you might need to keep a little bend in that left leg. If so, you could just grab a block or something to let that leg rest on. Go ahead and come back up, recenter, reset. We're going to try one more time on the same side. Inhale, let the eyes follow that right hand thumb. Exhale, reach that right hand up and over in the same direction of the left foot. Relax the shoulders. You can turn the eye gaze down. Lift the chest, turn and open. Keep the shoulder blades pulled back together. Slowly come on back up. Bring the knees in towards the chest. Give them a little hug. Tilt the chin up. Tuck the chin in. Rotate the head. So we're going to practice the same thing on the other side. This time I'm going to have the sole of the left foot on the inside edge of this right leg. And again, the leg's not going to be straight out in front. We're actually going to step it out to about 2 or maybe 3 o'clock. Again, having that strap or band to help you reach that foot can be really useful. You might also just like to have the hand on the foot, leg, shin, wherever it can comfortably reach. Same thing, we're going to inhale, twist to the left, extend that left arm, and then find that lateral plane, that side body stretch. The chest, lengthen through the spine, open the heart, draw the shoulder blades together. First round complete, come back up, recenter, keep a few breaths. Any adjustments you need to and prepare for that second round of the stretch. Time, slowly recenter the body. Hug both knees in towards the chest. Sit up tall. We're going to come to rest on our backs now. Just drop the camera angle just a little bit here. So we're going to come down onto our backs. Take a moment just to get settled in. If you need to get a drink of water before you come down, you can. Make sure that the sides of your mat are clear of any props. And just push them out of the way. Come back to them later as need be. And just have enough space where you can have your arms out to the side, even if they're slightly bent. Just take a moment to look over right shoulder and then left. Let the head and neck relax and center. And just take a few slow, deep breaths here. Now focusing your attention on this right leg and hip. Slowly interlace the hands behind the right leg and just start to make Some kind of gentle circular movements, massaging that leg back into the hip socket and keeping the circles really wide to start. Unforced, unrushed. Just take your time. Just let the leg in its own weight, at its own pace, just gently settle back into the hip. Go ahead and hug that knee in towards the chest. If you want to, you can extend the opposite leg long. Rotate that ankle of the right leg. And we're going to come into a version of what's sometimes playfully called rock the baby, and where our right leg is the baby that we're going to rock. And to do that, we're going to support right behind the knee here. And we're going to actually bring this right foot over and across towards the left knee. But we want to protect the knee joint and the integrity of the function of the knee joint as we do this. So we're going to keep this foot flexed, all right? And we're focusing on a stretch here through the hip and a bunch of connective muscles in that hip bowl, I'll call it for now. And so we're going to slowly just begin to hug that right knee in towards the right shoulder. And that right foot's going to come slowly across the body. You might even actually like to hook this right arm so that the elbow presses inside of that right leg. If it doesn't feel accessible to you right now, you could also just come into a half happy baby by just holding and extending one leg. You can even keep one leg bent, but you could have that arm to the inside edge of the leg with the heel facing the ceiling. Each one serves to stretch the hip and groin in a different way. Try one or both of those and see how that works for you. When you're ready to transition now, just slowly guide that right foot back towards the floor. Step left foot next to right. Take a few moments just to windshield wiper the knees side to side. And then we'll practice the same thing on the other leg. So again, your choice. You can keep that leg that we're not stretching can be bent with the foot on the floor, or you can extend that leg. And just slowly start to make some circular movements with that left leg into left hip socket. Any condition, any rush, take your time. Be intentional with each movement. And when you're ready, you can hug that left leg in towards the belly, towards the chest. Maybe rotate the ankle a few times. Now we've got a couple of options. You might like to try and grab a hold of the inside edge of that left foot and come into a half happy baby on this side. You might need to bring the right foot back to the floor to feel more comfortable to do that. You also might like to have the option of this sort of reverse pigeon, if you think about it. This is the same physical shape of a pigeon stretch, except we're not lying face down. We're sort of cradling the leg in the position for the stretch. Got a couple of different hand and arm variations, depending on what feels right for your body here. When you're ready, you can slowly extend both legs. Take a nice full body stretch. And then exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. Take a little rock side to side. If you want to work on that happy baby, that stretch on both sides of the groin and hip, you can maybe reach to grab a hold of the feet, heels pointed towards the ceiling, knees on the outside edge of the shoulders. Drop the tailbone back towards the floor. Relax the face and jaw. Slowly bring the legs together, hug the knees in towards the chest. When you're ready, lower the feet back down. We're going to make our way into a bridge pose next. Let's go ahead and retract the shoulder blades back together. Keep the arms closer to the side of the body. Be sure that the hips, knees, and heels all line up with the knees stacked right over top of the heels, just like in our lunge. And then when you're ready, you can exhale, tilt the chin away. There should be no pressure on the head or neck here. Tilt the chin away, and then slowly begin to lift the hips up off of the mat, just a little bit to start. You can always lower back down, readjust the feet, and try again. You can hold here or make this a moving bridge, your choice. If you want to try the bind and bridge, you can interlace the fingers, clasp the palms, and draw the shoulder blades even closer together. If you're looking for a more restorative practice, you can always grab a yoga block and bring the block underneath of the hips and come into a restorative bridge instead. When you're ready, you can slowly press the floor away, lift the hips gently, just enough to remove that support. Just take a moment again, observe how you feel now. It's time to check in. Enjoy a few deep, mindful breaths. So we're going to close our physical practice before we move into our Savasana and hopefully a little bit of breath work. I'm going to close this physical practice with a lying down twist. So I'm going to bring my arms back out into a T shape or that Joshua tree shape. And I'm going to let the knees lift, the feet up off the floor, letting the knees stack right over the hips. And we're going to engage a little bit through the obliques and side body here by just gently dropping the knees about halfway side to side, and do that about a half a dozen times on each side. When you're ready, you can just drop the hips, the legs over to one side. Let the head and neck turn over the opposite shoulder. Try and keep the shoulder blades on the floor. If you need to bring the floor to you, so to speak, with the legs, you can always bring a block or blanket underneath or in between those knee joints to make this a little more comfortable. When you're ready, you can come back to center, recenter the legs and torso, and then go ahead and switch. When you're ready, take your time, recenter the physical body. Prepare for Savasana, our final resting position, where you can, if you want to, keep the feet on the floor and the knees stacked together, or you can stretch the legs long. I'm going to guide our Savasana from a seated position, so I'm going to make modifications I need to. Take your time, and if you need to, you can put on a sweatshirt, change the lighting in the room, do whatever you need to so you can be totally comfortable. When you get there, just take a nice long breath out your mouth. Let the eyes close, the muscles of the face be relaxed. You can even gently just pick up each hand, each arm, each foot, each leg, and then gently lower it back down. Just very slowly roll any parts of the body out that feel like they need to be moved one last time. And then intentionally will your physical body to be completely still. Be relaxed. Your conscious awareness simply rest on your breath. You can count out your breath, the tip of your nose. You see if you can count out 11 breaths. The mind wanders, the story continues. You can start over from 1. Count out the breath. Inhaling, exhaling, 1. And repeating upwards to 11. You find that you can naturally relax into this meditative awareness without counting. Just simply drop into your practice. Observe and be still. Not quite asleep, but not totally engaged. Relax in this space a little while longer. Your mind and body and spirit be refreshed, be rested. That any repairs that need to be done at a cellular level occur now. The body recharges. Your mind release any weightiness, anything that feels like it's been a struggle. Let that go. Just this pure, undiluted presence continue to blossom and unfold. Feel a deep contentment flowing from your heart center as you experience gratitude for the many blessings, simple and great, that exist in life. Take a few moments, fill your mind with grateful, beautiful thoughts now. Not overindulging any particular thing, just simply going through with awareness, the things that you're grateful for, the people whom you're grateful for. That pure frequency of gratitude fill your being. Oh, Shanti, Shanti. The frequency of peace continue to manifest, and continue to call it more peace, more peace. When you're ready, exhale completely and hold your breath out for just a moment. Experience that void, that brief space of emptiness. And then, with loving gratitude, invite that in-breath back in. Receive it fully without having to do anything. The breath knows what to do, knows to come back. And experience that beautiful phenomenon of your breath for just a few more moments. Touch fingers, wiggle toes, just gently move the body. Breathing life back into the body, but maintaining this equilibrium fostered through this restful state. And you can let your mind focus on the syllables, that mantra Om or Om Shanti, universal chant for peace that you can plant like a seed inside of your own mind. That vibration, quality of peace will continue to grow in all things that you see. When you're ready, you can maybe gently open the eyes, but keep them closed. Take your time to find a place where you're comfortable to close the practice. Take a moment to touch your hands to the center of your chest and bow your head towards your heart. May your inner and outer worlds harmonize. Experience more peace, more content. Settle into that equanimity. Om Shanti. We close our practice now. We greet each other. Hari Om, Om Tat Sat. Om Shanti. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this offering. I look forward to seeing you again in future classes. Go in peace. Thank you.